If you look up the term American car in the dictionary, there's a very good chance you'll probably see a picture of the Dodge Challenger. Now, when Dodge reintroduced this car back in 2008, it was a huge success for the company. In fact, it's been so successful sales-wise that they really haven't had to make too many changes over the years. However, in 2015, when they introduced the mother of all Challengers, the Hellcat, that's really where a lot of hype took off for this car even more so. And this week, I'm actually here in Portland, Oregon, testing out the 2018 Dodge Challenger SRT Hellcat Widebody. So it basically has all of the stickier tires, the wider fenders of the Demon to better handle that 700 horsepower V8. So how does it all drive? That's what we're here to find out. So if you guys are familiar with the Challenger heritage, this is actually known as the 4th generation when it was reintroduced back in 2009. And over the years, Dodge has made some pretty big updates here and there. 2015 was really the biggest year when they introduced refreshed styling, a refreshed interior, and of course the SRT Hellcat with the supercharged V8. Now, this platform is actually based on the Mercedes-Benz E-Class from literally 10 years ago. It's amazing how the company was able to take such an old platform and kind of make it still feel fresh in today's day and age, but they were able to do that. It just kind of shows you how over-engineered Mercedes are. Now, the design of the Hellcat, you can see, you'll distinguish it as a Hellcat obviously from the badge that's in the grille. It's got the Hellcat logo, the SRT. There's also a little pass-through here in the actual headlight. This is actually for the engine to swallow up more air. They basically got rid of an eye and replaced it with a nostril, if you can kind of put it that way. It's definitely all there for cooling. You have xenon headlights, of course, on the Hellcat with LED daytime running lights. It's a very, old school muscle car in its design. It has a really nice, imposing stance to it. So that's kind of what's going to appeal to those of you who like that traditional muscle. Now, the wide body obviously has the wider fenders from the Dodge Demon. You can really tell it's got that low, wide stance. It's got the hood with the functional heat extractors because you got to cool that big V8 underneath the hood. Now, looking around the sides, this is where you're going to notice the biggest difference between a standard Challenger Hellcat. The fenders here are puffed out. You've got these bigger wheels and tires. These are 11-inch wide wheels on 305s all around. If you guys remember, the regular Hellcat only has 275s in the rear, and I believe they're like 245s in the front. So this is able to put the power down a lot better. You have big Brembo brakes with like 15-inch rotors behind them. No carbon ceramics, of course, but this is a really big vehicle. Now, speaking of big, the Challenger is massive. It stretches about 197 inches long, around 10 inches longer than a Mustang and a Camaro. So this is the big boy in the segment. And if you want all the space and kind of that looks, this is why you actually go for the Challenger. Now at the back, another Hellcat badge, SRT right here, kind of letting people know that you have the Hellcat. You had updated taillights that were introduced back in 2015. And then the Hellcat down here has very large exhaust. I'm surprised it's not a quad exhaust, but they look good. They certainly give this vehicle, or finish off the kind of look that this vehicle will show you when you guys go for a Hellcat. Now, being the top of the Challenger line, a smart key access system with push-button start comes standard. You can see here is the red key. As you guys know, the Hellcats come with 2 keys. The black key only gives you 500 horsepower, and the red key gives you 707. So make sure you guys get the red key if somebody gives you the keys to this car, because they're limiting you if you only get the black key. Now, to lock the door, you can see there's actually an old school door handle here that actually you pull up here instead of the kind where you pull to lock it. You kind of just touch this button here. It locks the door. When you unlock it, there's actually a sensor on the back of this handle. Just touch it with the key on you and it'll unlock the doors. Now, looking inside of my tester, it's got these really attractive looking brown leather seats. It looks good with the bright red exterior color. And with the Hellcat model, they've really made the seats much more aggressive. I don't really like the way they look, if I'm being honest. I just kind of wish that the headrest looked a little bit different, but they hold you in place and they're also really comfortable to sit in. Now, when you get inside this vehicle, it has a pretty low step-in height, but you instantly feel how roomy it is. This is definitely the widest, the biggest vehicle in the muscle car segment. It shows when you first get in. Now, when you shut the door, It actually doesn't sound too bad. I mean, this is a Mercedes chassis that was over-engineered for its time in typical German ways. Now, to start the vehicle up, as I said, there's push button start, put your foot on the brake, push this button here to fire up the engine. And as soon as you start it up, you are constantly reminded that this is the special Hellcat, or the Hellcat with the motor. It's just the noise, it's just fantastic. And honestly, your neighbors are just gonna hate you every time you start this vehicle up. It's just a great noise. It just makes me feel happy to be in America, honestly. You have to give FCA credit for offering such a brutish vehicle that really just kind of is a middle finger to all the conservatives. Now, looking at the rest of this interior, it got a pretty big refresh in 2015. The materials in here are okay. There's soft touch materials here. They're pretty cost competitive. You have this special looking aluminum like trim. I don't really love the dashboard design. It's not my favorite. I think the Mustang and the Camaro have a much more upscale looking cabin. I do like the steering wheel though. I wish it's kind of a flat bottom. It's just massive. It's really thick. It's got these nice little paddle shifters here. They're aluminum, but they're mounted to the wheel instead of the column. The door panels here are also soft touch. More of that stitching here on the armrest. You have one-touch automatic up-down front windows, which is definitely nice. The switchgear in here is very old FCA, so you're kind of reminded that this is an old product. I don't like the way the turn signals feel as well. They feel a little bit on the chitsy side, just a little bit old. The instrument panel also looks good. I like the traditional gauges. You know, it's got a pretty low Redline, honestly. It's like 5,900 RPM, but it's a big V8. And I like the display here in the center that shows you basically all the information you need to know when you guys are in a vehicle like this. Now, looking at the head unit here, you can see it's the Uconnect 8.4-inch display. It's one of the best in the industry. I'm not going to go too much in depth with it just because you guys have seen my reviews on other Chrysler products. The Hellcat gives you kind of unique backgrounds and fonts, and the touch response is great. It's one of the best in the industry, as I said before. It has Android Auto and CarPlay that they added, I believe, this year for 2017, or at least for 2017. It's got heated and cooled seats. And then when you go over here, there's an SRT button here, and you push that, you can kind of initiate all the different adjustabilities that Chrysler gives you. You can go into your track, your sport, you can customize the drive modes, you can initiate the launch control in this car. So it's just really cool with the customization. I think FCA actually may have one of the better systems in the business, so I wasn't expecting that, if I'm being honest. It's just a really cool setup. Now when you put the vehicle into reverse, you also get a backup camera. It has trajectory, it has distance markers, and it's a reasonable resolution quality. I love the screen size though. It's just a massively huge screen size, which is definitely nice to have. The navigation system here, the map display, it's basically a Garmin head unit. It gets the job done. It works kind of like a tablet as well. So again, the head unit, it's great. FCA does one of the best ones in the business. Now down here, Manchester has the 8-speed automatic transmission. You can also get a 6-speed manual, which is really nice. The 8-speed is built by ZF. Honestly, it's a great transmission, puts the power down extremely well. It has this nice big shifter with traditional, PRND, a manual mode here with what's on the shift gate if you want, or you can use the steering wheel paddle shifters. There's some cup holders here, a nice armrest here with 2 USB ports, a power outlet, and an aux port. It's a nice size. It's lined with felt. Same with the glove compartment. It's lined with felt, and it's also 2-tier in its storage, so that's good. The seats, as I said, they're comfortable. They hold you in place. Honestly, they're really built to withstand wider American people or bigger American people. I fit in it nicely, so they're comfortable on long drives. The rear seat, which I've showed you guys in the past, they're bigger versus a lot of the Camaro and Challengers or the Camaro and the Mustang competitors, but you're probably not going to put your 6-foot-tall friends back there, but you could probably put some average-sized people there just fine. Overall, the inside of the Challenger is probably its weakest link for me, aside from the nice head unit, but this is probably the most dated aspect of the Challenger in general. Being the biggest vehicle in the segment does give you the biggest trunk, and that's where the Hellcat or the Challenger doesn't disappoint. When you open up the trunk, you have a relatively big opening by this class, and you're looking at about 16 cubic feet of space, which is literally what you get in most mid-size sedans, if I'm being honest. Now, underneath the floor here, there is no spare. Instead, you just got to fix a flat kit. Dodge puts the battery and has the subwoofers here for the Harman Kardon sound system. But the seats also fold down 60/40, so I can see why people definitely choose the Challenger. It's the bigger, more practical vehicle out of all the 3 muscle cars. Under the hood of the Hellcat, you guys are probably pretty familiar with this engine by now. It's still the same 6.2 liter Hemi supercharged V8, a little bit smaller than with the engine that you find in the regular SRT models, which is like a 6.4. It still makes 707 horsepower and 650 pound-feet of torque. Now, of course, this is not the Demon motor. That makes actually another 100 horsepower, but 707 is still a lot. It's still the king of the horsepower wars for the muscle cars. Now, Challengers are all rear-wheel drive, but thankfully now you've got those wider rear tires. You should be able to put the power down better. And in case you care, fuel economy. It's rated at 13 in the city, 22 on the highway, which actually isn't bad, but the government still hits you with a $1,700 gas guzzler tax. So you got to pay to play, but let's get out on the road and see how it all works, shall we? Finally, it's time to show you guys a full Redline review on a Hellcat. Thankfully, it's not the regular Hellcat. This can actually put the power down, or so I've heard. So let's get it out on the road and see how it drives. As you saw earlier, I have the red key, so we have all 707 horsepower at our disposal, and I love that V8 noise. That is just a fantastic, fantastic sounding engine. Now, I'm actually really happy that my tester has the 8-speed auto. It is the quickest model. Chrysler says, or FCA, Dodge says this will get to 60 in 3.5 seconds. So I don't know if I'll be able to test that, but let's get out on the road and see how it at least performs. Oh. Okay. The transmission got a little confused there. I think I had it in manual mode on accident, but it didn't like the wheel spin there, so I'm gonna go a little bit more cautiously in my next acceleration run. But the first thing you immediately notice with the Hellcat is how massive it is. This thing weighs like 4,500 pounds, and you feel it from behind the wheel. It's just a hugely wide, big vehicle. The nose is really long. The visibility in here is not the greatest, but neither is really anything in this class. The hood is so long. If you're short, you can't really see over the hood. The mirrors are really small. The view out of the back is just garbage, if I'm being honest. But that engine is just the whole reason why you buy a Hellcat. And let's try to see another acceleration run really quickly here. Oh my God! Holy okay. I love that supercharger whine. There's nothing like the sound of a V8, especially an American V8 like this. It just kind of, you feel like I feel like I'm like growing hairs on my chest. This car so does not suit me. I could never drive something like this, but it's incredible. The amount of character this car has, it just makes you appreciate it, even though it's not really your style. It's lovely. Now, this road is pretty narrow. I'm having trouble putting the power down for sure, but I can immediately feel that it is better than the standard Hellcat. The 305s, you kind of got to get some heat in the tires, but really what surprises me is the handling of this car. Because it's got those stickier wheels and tires, it grips the road really well, but the wider fenders does make attacking a back road a little bit difficult because this car is so wide. It just takes up the road. But when you really start hustling it, you're surprised by what it can do, to be honest. So the back end likes to step out, but honestly, I trust it a little bit more than the standard Hellcat. You know, if you don't like cars that fishtail, this is not for you, because this car seriously still likes to fishtail a lot. But when it shifts, the crackles and bangs from that 8-speed auto are just fantastic. It just kind of makes you want to go faster, and you really start to appreciate the Hellcat for what it is. I just had to do a small one because you're in a Hellcat, you got to do a little burnout. That's just a prerequisite of this car. So the Hellcat Widebody definitely gives you the additional grip you need, but it'll still slide around and get tail happy when you guys get a little feisty with your right foot. I honestly don't know why you would need the Demon. I mean, I haven't driven the Demon, but with the Hellcat still the Hellcat Widebody still, wagging its tail, leaving black lines everywhere you go. But it does handle the corners better. This is not a car that, honestly, I could daily drive because it's just got too much power. It's so big, which I don't really like, but it's just so cool. It's so American, and that's what makes the Hellcat so special, is that American charm. So you guys, want that? This, to me, out of all the three muscle cars, has the most American charm. And that's kind of with my, with what I want to leave you with the Hellcat. This is just an incredible car, lovely V8, incredible 8-speed automatic, comfortable interior, lots of space. And if that's what you're looking for, this is seriously the one that you want to go for sure. Yeah. Just because I had to, just one more burnout. That's it though, that's it. I don't need to get in any more trouble with this car. This is fantastic. If you guys aren't used to rear drive cars though, this is not for you. This is more of an expert level car. It loves to do burnouts, it loves to wag its tail still, but it's a little bit more controlled for the expert driver. So after spending the day with the Hellcat Widebody, you kind of have to give FCA a round of applause. They really improved the Hellcat in a way that this car really needed. When I first drove the Challenger Hellcat a couple of years ago when it first came out, I loved the engine. The engine is just intoxicating, but it was kind of a scary car. You really couldn't utilize all 700 horsepower out in the real world. But this new Widebody with the fatter tires, it really puts the power down well. And aside from some wheel hop that you get, the back end doesn't really squirm around, so that kind of makes you feel a little more confident to put your foot down and actually utilize all that power and hear it, because it's just an intoxicating noise. So what is all this going to cost you? Well, the Hellcat has always been a bargain in terms of performance for your money. And this car starts at around $64,000, which is literally twice the price of a regular Challenger, but hey, it's worth it when you have all this power. You literally have more than twice the power. The Hellcat Widebody actually will cost you about $7,000 more, which I think is worth it, honestly, because you can put the power down better. It looks like a Demon aside from the Demon badge that are missing. And if you want a Demon, that's another 12 grand on top of that. So this is kind of a good middle ground between the regular Hellcat and the Demon. And it's impressive to me how this car still feels relatively fresh, but it'll be interesting to see what FCA does. They're actually rumored to be moving this car to an Alfa Romeo platform when they finally redesign it. But as it sits, it still has a lot of appeal, and there's definitely something very nice about something that's so American like the Challenger SRT Hellcat. But I hope you guys have enjoyed my full overview on the Hellcat. If you're also looking to see the latest cars I'm testing, make sure you follow me on Instagram at Redline_reviews, like us on Facebook, and if you haven't done so, please subscribe to the Redline Reviews YouTube channel for all the latest reviews. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next video.